Here I am, in the place to be. Mr. K&B, you can't fuck with me. Extra sexy, extraordinary. Palms are hairy, your mama pop.
What up, y'all? It's K&B, the Sexy Ninja, in the place to be for a Paper Saber universe. And this is the Sexy Ninjacast, the podcast all about K&B. Who's that? That's me, the Sexy Ninja. Indeed. I know these are very sparse and very few and in between, but if you're new to a Paper Saber universe, the feed and channel, there's more than just a New World podcast. The New World podcast is all about pro wrestling, and that's just a monster on its own because there's shows pretty much almost every day, pay-per-views every other weekend. There's always so much going on in the world of AEW and WWE, so I keep up as best as possible. So that podcast is separate just because it's my love and interest that stays in a bubble there, you know, and there's a format to it. There's what I want to do. The Sexy Ninjacast, on the other hand, is a podcast where I do reviews and I do breakdowns and I just talk about my life for a second. And my birthday just happened and I just turned 35. I know a lot of people are like, that's still a young age. I know indeed. And this year's been rough, you know, losing my uncle early on this year, recently losing my grandfather. It's been one ride, man. And, you know, this past Thanksgiving was hard because he passed away in September. And it was one of those things where I wanted my call from him on my birthday, like he usually does with my grandma, and they sang happy birthday to me and all that. And, you know, I got really emotional, and I did what I do best. I go into my bubble. I've talked about my bubble before. My bubble is comic books, movies, wrestling, you know, just things to distract me. And there was a few moments I've cried here and there, you know, just because I know he's in a better place. I know he's looking down. I know all of that, you know, but it still hurts. It's still fresh. I think about my grandmother every single day, you know. We and her text all the time, and I know she's lonely. I know that for a fact. And I just send nothing but positive love to her, the family, and all my family. I love my family so much, and that's what makes us strong. And that's what my Che would want, is us to keep strong and stay strong. And me turning 35 and looking at things in different lights, different perspectives is, you know, it's one of those things where I sit here and I'm like, man, I got a lot to be proud of. You know, I'm a manager. I hit a manager position with a company that I've been with for 12 years, making decent money. I have a great wife. I have a great kid, you know, she's about to be 9 years old, y'all. If you go back in the archives, you can check out those snack me's we did in the beginning. We don't do them no more because I just think there's too many weirdos online. We used to do these snack me's and stuff like that, and it's crazy seeing how much she's grown. And, you know, being a podcaster, I know there's millions of podcasters out there. You know, it's fine. It's just one of those things where I look back at all this, like I've documented my life for the past 5 or 6 years in doing this. It's fucking crazy. Like going back all the way to the social event podcast and this and that. Like it's crazy that I can go and pinpoint where I was at the past 6 years. You know, and it's all documented. There's footage. There's my trips to Camp Zool and this and that. You know, when I went to the movies, when I almost died with Doug watching the first Aquaman movie because it was a super bad snowstorm. You can hear us slipping and sliding all over the road. You know, every up, every down, every moment of sadness, every moment of happiness, it's all there, and it's pretty fucking cool. I don't know many people that have that in their lives, you know, and I know there's people out there that are trying to be creative, that are trying to make something of themselves. There's people out there that want to build their own, and I'm one of the few that says I have built my own sense of content and stuff like that, and stuff that I love to talk about, stuff that I want to talk about. Shit, I've created things that I still need to see the light of day, and that's what really pushed, you know, my birthday thoughts. And we went around on Black Friday. I went to the comic book shops. Great comic book shop if you're ever in Glendale. It's called Drawn to Comics. I've been a fan of that store for a very long time. That store has been around for a very, very, very long time. So much so, when I went to go buy my books on, because I haven't been down there in a minute, and the owner and his wife, fucking fantastic. They're beautiful people. But I remember, like, when I first went to this comic book shop, this is like the first Christmas that I spent with my wife's folks, my in-laws now, and we went down. There was like the downtown glitters thing they do with the lights. I didn't see any of that because I went to this comic book shop called Drawing the Comics, and I remember talking to that guy for like, it felt like hours, but the conversation never got stale. We were talking about books, we were talking about moments in comics and this and that, the upcoming movies. Me and him, talking like, dude, can you believe that we're living in this age now where we're getting all these superhero movies? And you can go tell I gotta tell my fat kid self back in the day, like, yo, it's gonna be okay. There's a lot of cool stuff coming. And and when I got there, I got to see him. He was busy, like the store was busy and everything like that, but I picked up some great stuff, picked up some stuff on the back wall, and got a couple graphic novels and stuff like that. And then I found this really cool action figure store that's right across the street. I don't know the name of it. I know it has a Star Wars name. That was the only reason why I was attracted to it. I was like, oh, Star Wars. And, I got some figures there. I got these really cool House of X, Power of X, Jonathan Hickman inspired figures from the Legend series from Marvel. And I had to get them. It was a Magneto. I got Magneto. I got Professor X and stuff like that. I just love the way they look, especially with Magneto with the white, all white, just looking badass as possible, And then and this weekend and this journey of being like, I'm 35 now. Like, I'm looking at things and crazy, like, just like, I need to create more. I need to do more. And that's what inspired to be like, you know what? Get your ass on and do a podcast. Do a podcast right now. Get your thoughts out. Get them out right now. And that's what I'm doing. And we went to this one bookstore down there that's in Avondale, a little mom and pop shop. It's a really cute bookstore. And I came across this book, and it's a Western book. And my grandfather, he loved sitting on the porch and reading them and stuff like that. And I was just drawn to this book and everything like that. The cover alone is what got me, and I have it right here in front of me. It's Prisoners of Devil's Claw by Edward H. Hawkins. It's a 177-page book. It's one of the same size my grandpa used to read, and it says, the first in a series of stories of the famous Al Palmer, U.S. Marshal, West Point graduate, former Southern officer and spy. That's the journey we're going to be following. But it's a starting of a saga, and it was actually signed by this Edward H. Hawkins, and the cover's dope. I really love the cover. They got the rocks and water waves and stuff like that. And then later on for my birthday weekend, like, I went over to Bookman's when we got back into town, and I found a book that is very near and dear to my heart. A movie too as well that I saw first before I even got into the book. If you remember a little movie called John Carter, a movie that I felt like deserved much more. It's a movie that I carry with me in my heart and soul because I love that movie. I love that story so much. And then, like, when I got to dive into Edgar Rice Burroughs and stuff like that, and the first book is called The Princess of Mars, and the movie was supposed to be called John Carter of Mars. But I remember when that movie came out, and I remember the year prior, it was like John Carter of Mars. That's what they were calling it. And then it just became John Carter, and it came out, flopped, and just went to the shadows and stuff. It's on Disney Plus right now. You should check it out. It's a really great science fiction movie, and if you want to pick up the book, there's several adaptions. Not several adaptions. There's several trilogies to the first book, and I found this great one with an awesome cover art and stuff like that, John Carter, and with the princess and everything like that, and on Mars. It's just and it's like has the psychedelic lettering on it. It's just dope. I had to get it, and then I started thinking to myself, I was like, you know what? It got me thinking. I've talked about this before on the podcast. I have a story called The Wizard and the Outlaw, or Wizards and Outlaws. I'm still determining what kind of title I want to go with it, but I was like, I should, I took these two books now, The Prisoners of Devil's Claw by Edward H. Hawkins and The Princess of Mars by Edgar Rice Burroughs, and I'm reading them back to back, going back and forth and stuff like that, getting inspired. And I was like, I can write 177 pages, right? I can do that. Then I was like, big head boy, you could do anything. You can do anything the fuck you want to do. So these two things inspired to be like, you know what? I need to get up off my ass. I need to start writing these stories. And the first one I want to do is The Wizard and the Outlaw. Then I want to tackle other ones. If you ever want to hear a funny story that I have that I want to turn into a movie, it's called Ghost Pizza. That's in the archives as well. I have some stories called The AI Wars and stuff like that. I think on that podcast is called My Universe for the Sexy Ninjacast and stuff like that. You can check that out. But this time I'm like, all right, The Wizard and the Outlaw. We'll just call it that for now. I want to... Like it's a story that it's been in my brain for years, and I was looking back at my old notes about it too. And it's about this Native American outlaw kid. You know, he's kind of a bounty hunter / you know, he steals things and stuff like that, and he gets caught up by the law. And they like, hey, you know, we know you're a great tracker. We know you're a great this. You know, what we want you to do is we have a bounty on this one dude, and we want him in as fast as possible. And the wizard's name is North. I still haven't came up with the name of the outlaw's name, but the wizard's name is North. And he's a drunk, belligerent asshole. I think the first scene I ever wrote for him was waking up in a Mexico prison. And he gets up and he's brushing his eyes and stuff like that. And he's like, oh, where am I at? And then they're like, oh, you know, they're speaking to him in Spanish and everything like that. And he's like, you know, he's like, I need to get out of here. And they're like, no. And they're telling him, no. And then he's like, do you understand that I'm a fucking wizard? Blows the doors off the hinges and stuff like that. I already know where the story's going to. I played it out. I already have like the second story and third story written for the first story. Like, I already know where the characters are going. I just need to like write it down. And so like looking at these two books that I picked up in about 177 pages, man, that's where storytelling comes from. That's what storytelling is at its finest. You know, that's where a lot of these things, these IPs were created through books and other people's ideas, you know. And so like it got my creative juices flowing. Also too, I've been watching a lot of movies. I've probably watched more movies the past month than I have in a long time. I finally watched Oppenheimer. Christopher Nolan is a master filmmaker. I love that movie so much. Like the music, the cuts of the film. I've been doing more studying on like how to edit and stuff like that. I finally put out the movie, The Social Vent. I like it. I love it. And, you know, I don't think it's a lot of people's stuff, like, because it's very DIY, very, you know, it's very off fucking planet Earth, like insane. You know, there's a script, but there's not really a script. A lot of that shit was improvised with all of us. A lot of that shit that we put together was like, oh, hey, we're coming in, we're shooting this day, let's do this, let's do that. So I really wanted to put my skills to the test and take all 4 episodes that we made of The Social Event, the show Our Rise as podcasters, in a very funny mockumentary type form, and then put them together and put my editing skills together. You know, how I want to chop things, how I want the conversation to go, like if it's coming in on me, if it's coming on Big Daddy and stuff like that. Like I really wanted to drive that home and do these cuts. And I got asked the other day, I don't want to get too off topic because there's some more movies I want to talk about, but like I got asked like, hey man, like you took out some great music from the show, whatnot that we like, you know, Jason the Sin God, DJ Clay. There's some other great songs that were lent to us by Intrinsic, you know, and McNasty and everything like that. Like there's songs in the show that didn't make the cut of the actual movie. I just used a lot of my music because that's what I wanted to do. And I'm not touching the show. Like the show's staying up. You can find it, the Social Vent show, on the playlist for YouTube. Then the Social Vent movies and the K&B, the Sexy Ninja films and stuff like that. I didn't want to. I wanted those to be standalones in what they are. And I wanted the music that I was inspired by and then that was given to us to use for those projects to stay in the pure form as they were presented as when we dropped them. So that's why I left those alone, and I made a totally different decision when I cut the 4 episodes together into one, like I think it's under an hour of a film, and that some things made it, some things didn't, you know, but that's just creating, you know, and I like that, like, and I finally saw Barbie. Oh man, I wish I saw this in the theater, but it was moments in time. This was like before my promotion, before I started making money that I was gonna make and stuff like that. And I'm really glad I got to sit here at home. And there's a real beautiful scene. There's probably a bunch of people like, we already saw the movie. And I was like, yeah, but there's this really beautiful scene where she's on the bench, Barbie's on the bench, and she's like looking out, she's seeing someone cry, laugh, like she's seeing the world as it is in front of her. And there's a moment where she just like looks and she sees this old lady sitting next to her who's, I believe, the granddaughter or daughter of the person that created Barbie. I'm not 100%, but that's what I was told through some trivia stuff. And I was like, and she's like, you're beautiful. And she goes, I know I am. And I cried like a baby, man. I lost my shit. And I had this paused movie and I rewatched that. I replayed it and I rewatched it again. And I'm just like, oh, just the power of that moment in a movie that it just gets you, you know. And it was some really great. It's a really great movie. I think it speaks for both sides. It's not a one-sided film. I think it's a movie that's very important, you know. And I'm a very I'm a soft boy, as I tell everyone, a soft boy. Those things get to me emotionally, and I look at it in the bigger picture of things. And I really like Barbie, Oppenheimer, Barbie. I know everyone's doing that Barbieheimer type thing. I got Godzilla coming up next. I finally saw Creed 3. I know that movie has been on the shelf for a while, but I finally got to sit down and watch Creed 3. And that movie was okay. It was Michael B. Jordan's debut film. There's a lot of things I love in the movie. Like the final fight scene with him and Damien. You know, Adonis and Damien's fight. The final fight, and then getting into this like metaphorical thing of like, you know, the crowd's gone, it's just them, it's just really intense, the music's hard, the soundtrack is fire. Oh my god, the soundtrack is fire. But it's one of those films that I'm like, you know, the thing that kind of took me off is like, we're here because of Rocky. You know, and I know Creed is making its own path, making its own way. And a lot of things happened behind the scenes of why Sylvester Stallone didn't come back for this film and stuff like that, and a little bit of like in the light of like him saying like, yeah, I don't own Rocky, you know, it's something I created, something I made, I don't own it. So, and he has this thing called Balboa Pictures, you know, that's his company right there, and it was all created from Rocky, which he doesn't own, so they can go off and make these Creed movies more and more and more, and there's already Creed 4 on the thing. But I think the thing that bugged me the most as a storyteller is that there was mention of Rocky, but there was no like, oh, why is he not here? You could have simply put in dialogue like, oh, like, hey, we should bring in Rock, you know, and he's like, nah, man. He goes, Rock wants to focus on the restaurant. We gotta let him be, you know, losing Paulie and stuff like that. Like, we'll just leave him alone, you know, just let him be. And then you can bring him back for the next film, but there wasn't even that. And this was a little bit of a combination of Rocky 1 and Rocky 4 story. You know, Damien's been in prison, and then I didn't like Damien's, like, I hope I'm saying the character's name right, Damien. I don't really like his motivation and the whole story of, like, Adonis leaving him, you know, after like pulling a gun on a dude. He's beating down this dude who was in his step parents' house that used to beat them a lot. You know, there was really no clear, like, it was just a little mess with the story. And then he finally gets his chance. He finally gets his championship because someone got Drago's kid is in it, and he gets his hand hurt or whatever because he's supposed to fight this other fighter, but then he gets taken out. Then Adonis is like, hey, why don't we use Damien? And why don't, you know, then Damien cheats and he wins the championship, then he goes straight hood after that. Like, the beach scene alone, like, you get one Damien to another Damien, you get a Damien, like, I just want my chance, you know, you live my life and this and that. And it's just one of those things where I was just like, it's cool, but, you know, I don't know. The movie itself was okay. I will say it's not my favorite out of the Creed movies. I will say it's probably bottom tier. I would say Creed 2 is good, but that Creed 1, ooh, Creed 1 is awesome. It's definitely one of those stories. Ryan Coogler directed that movie and everything like that. So, and Michael B. Jordan, though, he has some directing skills, you know? He has some skills a lot, and his daughter's really interested in boxing, and I know there's a comic book out there called The Next Round or something like that. It features his kid boxing and stuff like that. So there's a lot of cool elements to the movie. Just the story was not what I was like looking for and anything like that. So, and there's some other crazy movies that we watched on Shudder. I can't even think of one right now, but those are the 3 movies that stuck with me. I saw The Marvels twice. I love The Marvels. I think The Marvels is a fun film. It's an hour and 45 minutes of just let's go. So and the second time around, if you heard my review for the my Miss Marvel, the Marvels review that I did, I talked about that movie being very choppy, and there was a scene that I got confused by. But then, for the second time around watching it, I was like, oh. No, okay, I understand. Okay. I was like, I think I was just in the moment, in the moments that still made me excited and happy, like the little musical thing that breaks out still made me laugh. There's this big thing with the cats that made me laugh. Then we got Beast from X-Men. You can go check out that review. But the best part of this experience was the second time I went with Doug. And everyone knows how cynical Doug is. He doesn't like a lot of things. And I knew, like, before this movie even started, I told him, I was like, hey, I was like, hey, man, you ain't gonna like this movie. He goes, yeah, I know. I was like, I can't wait. And in the theater, this was like, these are the moments I love watching the movie with my best friend here. I love these moments of, and the moments of putting his hand on his face and rubbing his eyes, like, the bare, like, just emotion of just like, fuck this movie, it's amazing. It makes me laugh every single time, and I had a good time just watching him, and I enjoyed the film, and it made me more excited for the MCU, the Young Avengers and stuff like that. Now we got some X-Men going on, Binary showing up in their awesome costumes, so there's a lot of stuff going on. I can't wait, and I still say Miss Marvel's the best part of that movie. Like, she's adorable. She keeps everything light. I still love Brie Larson as Carol Danvers, and I'm excited to see where they go. And I know I finished Loki. I gotta say, besides the Marvels, out of all the new MCU stuff, Loki season 2 was dope. Whew. Loki season 2 is the shit, man. I like, it took a minute to get into that first episode, but once it goes, and then when you see where he gets on his throne and everything, I haven't watched Secret Invasion. I watched Werewolf by Night. That was awesome. That I was like, give me more of those. Give me the single one shots, man. Give me like 40 minutes or 50 minutes of that enjoyableness. Like, there's a great scene in Werewolf by Night where he's coming down the hall and he's murdering everyone, and it's black and white and whatnot. You see the blood, but the camera's just panning in slowly, and the blood squirting. You're seeing the wolf jump around and stuff like that. It's just such an awesome, like oh shit, that's dope, And there's a lot of great music this year too. A lot of great music. It's funny, as I was trying to look at my wrap-up for Spotify and everything like that. I love looking at my wrap-up because I remember the past few years, my daughter has dominated my Spotify, because Blackpink, Boy With You, there's some other artists. She likes Ghost. She loves the band Ghost, so like a lot of stuff that she likes, because we both use it, and she likes to use my Spotify when she's listening, when she's on Minecraft and she's playing and stuff like that. But I've been listening to a lot of podcasts too, getting inspired by that. I listened to this awesome Flash one, and I did a rewatch of The Flash, and I will say, I've come to appreciate and love that movie even more. Even though, if you listen to the first review, I was like, I don't know what to think of this film. There's this, fucking tomatoes, and this and that. But I got to watch the behind the scenes stuff, how they shot through with COVID. Then I just watched the movie just to watch the movie, and I really enjoyed it. Like the second and third time around, I really enjoyed the film. And there's a moment in that movie that broke me. And I was watching it before I went to work. There's a moment where Barry and Bruce are standing there, and this is after Barry tells Bruce, like, hey, I can go back in time. I can fix these things, and I can bring your parents back, Bruce. And Bruce is like, these scars is what makes us. This is what makes us, this is what This is what we're defined by our scars and everything like that. And that moment where he's like, but and Barry goes, but you're a superhero. He goes, yeah, but I'm alone. And I'm just thinking about it. That moment, I I downloaded it off TikTok, just that scene alone, because I like to watch it. And I think about that, and as somebody who loves that character of Batman so much, and rewatching like The Dark Knight for the billionth time and stuff like that, it's just that character alone, the sacrifices you have to make, and it's just, I don't know, that scene, just watch that scene, man, and just hear Ben's delivery of like, he's like, Barry's like, but you're a superhero, but he goes, but I'm alone. Think about that, I'm alone, man. It's just such good stuff, and I'm gonna end it after I talk about the Godzilla and Kong versus the Justice League. I just got done reading issue number 2. Holy shit! Superman got his ass kicked, but it was thanks to Billy Shazam. It was thanks to him, because he tried to do something and it didn't work out. But if you haven't heard, for some reason, Godzilla, the MonsterVerse and DC Universe have come together for this arc. It's a short run, and I think it's only 6 issues or 8 issues, one of the two. But it's a very fun, issue. Like, the Legion of Doom go to Skull Island, and they find this Toyman picks up this thing, or they go to, I forgot, they go somewhere. I believe they go to the Fortress of Solitude. I don't know. I can't remember the first issue, but because I just read the second issue. The second issue was fucking awesome. There's a moment where Godzilla's about to do his heat blast and everything like that. Then fucking Clark uses his heat vision and stuff like that. And they collide together. It's just this great panel shot of Godzilla and Superman going back to back. Billy comes in. He's like, "Hey, I can help you." And he stands on Godzilla's head and he goes, "Shazam!" Turns back into Billy, and he's going down and stuff like that. And so Superman saves him. Billy's like, "Oh, that helped." And Superman's like, "I told you not to do that." And here comes fucking Godzilla blasts Superman, and that's the last shot we see of Clark down. Billy like, "Oh shit, what did I do?" Another great moment in the second issue is now there's kaijus all over the world that popped up. There's this big bat-like creature that shows up in Gotham. And, of course, the Bat family, Black Canary, they all take it down. But Red Hood's like, "I'm going to pop this motherfucker." And then they're like, "No, don't do it." Bruce is like, "Don't do it." He's like, "Oh, you ain't going to tell me what to do." Pops this thing, and he pops this kaiju in the eye and whatnot. And then, like, afterwards, he starts doing sonic beams and stuff like that out of his mouth. And Black Canary killed this thing. It was awesome. Like, Cyborg's like, "Yo, we need to get a reading on the blast that this kaiju does and stuff like that." And so they mimic it. And Black Canary's like, "All right, y'all." And she's the one that takes it down. Batman flies out of his plane because he got the recording of the scream so they can play it back and destroy the kaiju and stuff like that. But before this even happened, fucking Batgirl knocks out Red Hood. It's like, bam, motherfuckers, like, jams. Red Hood's out. And everyone's like, agreed. So much great stuff there, man. But happy birthday to me. 35, it's been one hell of a year. We're coming up on December. It's almost December. We're in November. I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. I did. Ate a lot of food and stuff like that, but still sad. And I think I'm going to be sad for a while. Christmas is coming up, and I know that's going to be hard. I'm going home for Christmas, see the family and stuff like that. But we'll make it. We're strong. We'll make it all. Today's my uncle's birthday. I gave him a shout out, DJ Reflection. Happy birthday. Our birthdays are so close, and sometimes when we're together during Thanksgiving, we celebrate them together and stuff like that. So, all right, y'all. Like and subscribe. Share with your grandma. Share with your grandpa. Share with the bum down at Walmart. I am KMB, the Sexy Ninja, and remember, stay sexy, ninjas. Whoop, whoop!
Welcome to the wicked shit.